So it feels like it's been almost a year since I made a Subaru video, and I've come across a car listing that I think's kind of worth talking about. So let's have a look at this. Basically, in Australia and New Zealand, it was called the Subaru Vortex, and in Australia we only ever got the flat 4 version. So when we talk about the ER27, I genuinely only think of it as a Japanese or American motor, because it came in the Subaru and the Subaru XT6. I have now been proven wrong, and it does come in the Vortex. It just doesn't come in a Vortex sold here in Australia. So in New Zealand, they had a 6-cylinder model called the Vortex ZZ6, which only a few were sold, and that was due to the fuel options in New Zealand. It did come with the ER27, a 2.7 litre flat 6, first seen in 1985 in Subaru's ACX2 concept car, which was sort of what Subaru always intended the Vortex or the to be. It just sort of didn't come to fruition until towards the end of its life. So the listing for this car doesn't say directly if it's a New Zealand delivered car, but if it was an import with a custom decal, I think it would probably mention its history in Japan. The decal is super convincing, so at this time I believe this is a genuine Vortex ZZ6. I've talked in the past with a bloke called John from New Zealand who had a red one of these, but I haven't been able to get back in touch with him to find out more. As for the car, it's for sale at a dealership called Sunday Drive, where it is listed for $21,990. It's a constant 4-wheel drive, 4-speed auto with nearly 145,000 kilometers on the clock. In this video, I'm just going to point out some things that caught my attention, and then after that, if you want to go check out the listing, by all means, go do that. Starting with the rear seatbelts, which are a different design. These look like they were added for compliance, and therefore one of my sort of indicators that this is a legitimate ZZ6. I believe in Japan and the US they had the across the waist seatbelts, whereas in Australia our compliance and New Zealand is a bit different. So in my model, for example, the seatbelts in the rear retract into the trim. In this, it looks like it was added after the fact to meet those compliance standards. The seats are also like a later spec looking Berber, which I don't think we got here in Australia. Maybe I'm wrong, and like the 87.5 models might have got this trim, but it's kind of a nice looking seat. I like how it's got like the circle and the headrest, a bit different to the original. But yeah, I don't think we got these. I think you can also see it's got a rear brake light, which is probably like a Japanese thing that's come through with it. Another unfortunate thing is it's done away with the cool rubber headliner and replaced it with cloth, which as you can see is separated, and obviously doesn't have a sunroof. It's a slick top because it's got no way to open that from the inside. It's also got the original floor mats, which is pretty cool. The right hand stalk has revised switches. The early version high beam switch wears out. I know this because I've done it in mine twice. So you can see it's a lot bigger in this model. It also has the height button, which would imply at one point this car did have the height pneumatic air suspension, and I believe that it no longer does based on how it's sitting now. It also has a cruise button, which I'm guessing is for cruise control, which is pretty cool, and the middle button I think is for the rear wiper blade, which is also kind of cool. In the middle it also has this switch panel above the radio in place of the digital clock. I've bought one of these. I have it coming from Japan to replace my clock. And I think the standout button on this one just being the AC button, which is not something I have in my car. The radio is also a much better version. It's got like way more controls, and it's got this like Dolby noise reduction advertised on it. The gear selection, even in auto, remains like with the same like Fuji attack helicopter shifter. This car has the 4-speed auto, which is a pretty big improvement over the early 3-speed ones, just in terms of gearing and control strategies. I also thought it was interesting that the first gear has like a press and hold button. No turbo means no digital dash, so we've got red lines starting at 6,500 RPM, which I think is pretty normal for AU New Zealand delivered cars. I think the turbo, or at least the turbo models in Japan, start at like above 7, but yeah, overall pretty normal. Analog gauges, which is fine. The interior is also just really neat. Obviously that headline is separated, which is a bummer, but it's probably not too bad to fix. What is sad is that there's no engine bay photo on this listing, so we can't see any confirmation of the Cybrid adaptive electro-hydraulic steering system, which is pretty weird and a hell of a mouthful, but I'm going to guess the car has it. I don't think any of them don't have it. It's just not mentioned in the advertisement at all. So that's probably because the fluid's like impossible to get, and it might just be a bit of a drawback for anyone potentially looking at buying it. The exterior is pretty cool. It has the XT6 center garnish with the extra lights, so this like optional piece. I've been watching Yahoo auctions for one for my car, but so far no luck. The rear bumper is also the Jap spec, so it has no ability to fit the Euro plates, so it's quite short and square. It also has that rear wiper blade I mentioned before. Weirdly, I have seen some of the Vortices sold in Australia with this. I don't know why, or if it was like something that dealerships could option order or something like that, but yeah. It has the standard decal above the tail lights as well in the same grey Vortex 6, so it's that decal to me indicates it's a ZZ6, and that this car was brought in and badged a Vortex, and therefore is like technically New Zealand delivered, despite being pretty much a Japanese car. It also looks like the muffler's been changed out because it's sitting a bit lower, and I don't think the 6 has the single tip. I think they all have twin tips, so it's probably been changed. Like I said earlier, I don't think it's on airbag suspension anymore. I think it's probably on normal suspension, and the wheels are obviously no longer original. Slick top, like I said earlier, and it also has the Japanese spec brown glass, which is pretty cool. Interestingly, the front lip isn't the same thickness all the way through. Most likely it's been modified, but I'm not completely sure. Anyway, these are just the things I picked up with this car. It's a pretty interesting car, so yeah, go ahead and check the listing yourself, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thank you. See ya.